Here's an idea. At this point, Santa might have more in common with Hulk Hogan than he does with St. Nicholas. Okay, so first and foremost, if there are any kids nearby, they should amscray, because we're about to talk about some super top secret Christmas stuff like the best places to hide presents and how Santa's sleigh actually works, so off to Legos or ball pits or wherever, kids. All right, are they gone? Okay, good. So it's that time of year again where a vast portion of the Western world goes gaga over an imaginary guy in a big red suit. The North Pole, reindeers, a beard, belly, coal, breaking into people's homes and leaving them free stuff if they weren't jerks over the last year. Malls, pictures, laps, lists, the whole 9 yards. A huge collection of ubiquitous and, for better or worse, universally identifiable cultural symbols based on, well, lies.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Santa is about as real as Hulk Hogan's running leg drop. But before we get to wrestling, let's talk about who this Santa guy really is. The Santa we know and love is the result of images conjured by Clement Clark Moore's 1823 poem, The Night Before Christmas, and the drawings of political cartoonist Thomas Nast. You know, this old gem. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses and his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The legend of Santa, though, goes way back to 4th century Greek bishop and saint Nicholas of Myra, a man with a very strong reputation for gift giving. He was kind of like the Oprah of ancient Greek saints. From there, we get the Dutch Sinterklaas, the Nordic Tomte, England's Father Christmas, and my personal favorite, Iceland's 13 Yule Lads. So much so, actually, that I have a Christmas sweater that has them on it, so I figured that I would just go ahead and put this on, get this Christmas spirit. Actually, the mustache and sweater combo is a little bit much, so I'll just get rid of this. And the sweater actually brings up a really interesting point, which is that you can get anything with Santa's face on it. He's kind of like the Hello Kitty of Western holiday icons. And as he's grown from folklore to cultural mascot in a mere 190 years, he's also seen generations of children grow from unflappable ideologues to adults who know that he's fake. Which kind of makes you wonder, if we know for a fact that all of those millions of cookies and gallons of milk are for nothing, why is Santa still around? Why not just end the whole bearded charade? I never thought I'd say this, but wrestling might actually help explain. In the same way that Santa modernized, so did wrestling, from impressive tests of strength and skill between two athletic geniuses to this. Maybe this is an 80s kid thing, but me and my friends, we loved wrestling and bought into it 100%. Every punch and kick and jump from the top rope was epic and brutal and guitar solo. But somewhere in there, maybe around Rowdy Roddy Piper or Crush or Yokozuna's championship, I don't really know, the memories are really fuzzy, I figured out that wrestling is super fake. But I didn't care. Not even a little. I mean, theater is fake, movies are fake. Realness isn't anything close to what wrestling seeks to communicate. In his essay In the Ring, French semiotician, critical theorist, and thinker I'd most likely refer to as my dude at a party, Roland Barthes said that the rational future of the combat is of no interest to the fan of wrestling. Rather, what is thus given to the public is the great spectacle of suffering, of defeat, of justice. In other words, it's a myth. A story. It's sports entertainment. It's not bad that it's a myth. If anything, wrestling needs myth in order to communicate its narrative archetypes and to convincingly play out battles between good and evil every week in the squared circle. And look at any pro wrestling audience. It's tons of kids, yeah, but it's also tons of adults who love it, regardless of the fact that they know that it is pure spectacle. We start out loving wrestling because we buy fully into the arrangement of signs, suffering, triumph, revenge, and continue to love it after we learn they are signs and nothing more, because it was never actually about any of those things. It's about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson raising and lowering his eyebrows even more than I do. And don't anyone dare make an animated GIF of this. Santa works in roughly the same way. Well, except for the battle between good and evil part, though. Let me tell you, I would pay to see that match.
This Sunday, Chris Kringle, King of Claus, is back to defend his title as World Jollyweight Champion from that nasty northerner, that horned horror, the Krampus. Take a price to pay for the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Anyway, we lie about Santa for the same reason we lie about wrestling, or the Easter Bunny, or Puxatawny Phil, or the Harlem Globetrotters. Their realness isn't really the point. We start out loving Santa because of who he is. A jolly guy with a weight problem who gives people free stuff out of the back of his Sky van. And grow up to love Santa because of what he signifies. Gift giving and receiving, spending time with your family, bright lights, and yes, maybe one awkward conversation with your Drunkle Pat at the family Christmas party, but that's not really Santa's fault. We go from believing the artifice to enjoying the artifice, which itself takes a certain amount of maturity to be tricked and then to appreciate the trick. It's sort of like when C.S. Lewis said that someday you'll be old enough to start reading fairy tales again. What do you guys think? How did Christmas change for you when you learned that Santa isn't a real dude, but just a collection of symbols? Let us know in the comments, and you know exactly what I'm gonna ask for Christmas. Is this just real life, or is it a fantasy? Let's see what you guys had to say about cell phones and hyperreality. First of all, to Dark Zero Fiction, it's cool. I rarely get to say all the things that I want to say in the episode, so CPU Ryan says that a mediated experience isn't actually an experience, and Zigartha responds to that in a really interesting way and says that you can only experience real things. And I think that this portrays a really interesting point about this whole experience angle, is that you can't really get a tack on it without making a judgment because it's so subjective. Alex Halajian makes a really interesting point about reaching for immortality by posting all of the interesting things about your life and editing out all of the boring stuff, which is interesting. Also, you guys really hate Nickelback. I mean, are they really that bad? To Mike McVeigh, thank you for making that I Heart Huckabees clip. We were happy to use it. Sam Wagner and a bunch of other people pointed out that life is necessarily a mediated experience, though it might be mediated by your actual sensory organs, which I think some people would agree that one reality is more true than another, but it's an interesting thing to think about. You Will Identify First and a bunch of other people said that we are actually more bored, and that it is actually a detriment to our advancement that we are constantly entertained with our mobile devices. Finally, Video Amy pointed us to a Sherry Turkle video, which I have a lot of gripes with Sherry Turkle, maybe a little bit more than we can fit in this comment section here, but I will just boil it down to, I don't know that Sherry Turkle is basing her ideas upon things that people actually do. My gripe is that she seems to respond to caricatures or worst case scenarios. Like when she says that people don't go to the bar anymore, they just check Facebook. I don't know that that actually happens, and her response to technology seems to me the same kind of get off my lawn attitude that you would have seen people have to the printing press or to television. Like, there goes education and there goes the family dynamic, and that I think the internet is just another piece of technology to help us connect. We just happen to be connecting differently. So I don't know, maybe the problem is just that my personal experience doesn't dictate that people, actually, hold on. Oh, I have to take this, sorry. Actually, there's one more thing. We have a Facebook page now, which you should go and like. It's facebook.com/PBS Idea Channel. We'll put a link in the doobly-doo. Come say hi.